welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is celebration. We don't get to celebrate enough. So let's talk about how that can uplift our spirits and bring even more reason to celebrate into our lives. But before we get started, let's just take a minute to get present, and let's take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it and imagine sparkling, clean, crisp oxygen just flowing into your lungs and into your bloodstream and into your cells and organs of your body, just enlivening you and bringing in all that vital energy. And as you exhale any stress, any tension. And now let's just take another deep breath in through your nose. And this time, imagine that it's sparkling white light and it's lighting up all the molecules in your body and connecting you with the world beyond. And as you exhale any remaining stress or tension. You can roll your shoulders if you like and just relax. And now let's just gently press our palms together and softly, softly, softly rub your fingers against your palms and feel the deliciousness of that and the tickling and the tingling, and allow yourselves to bring yourselves present right here, right now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Friday and a great time to celebrate. In fact, most times are a great time to celebrate. And the thing is that usually we don't take the time to celebrate the awesome things that are showing up in our lives. We just sort of put one foot in front of the other and move on, continue on in our day, in our life, in the tasks that we're accomplishing. And when we celebrate, we're giving ourselves a reward. So this has been something that I've been exposed to, this idea of celebration, for years now, but I still am working on integrating it into my life. And I'm going to invite you to participate with me in doing that. So good morning, Natalie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And welcome to everybody else who's here to celebrate. So a couple of days ago, we talked about having a party to welcome in all your dreams and desires as beloved friends. And now we're talking about celebrating and using the opportunities through our day to really be a source of even greater joy. So when things happen, when I don't know about you, but I think it's a really positive practice to review your day and to sort of count your blessings. And what I mean by that is to allow yourself to be present to your blessings and to put your attention on your blessings. So when I'm talking about celebrating, we can go all out and celebrate, like literally do a happy dance to celebrate different things that are happening. And we can also just sort of settle into a deep sense of appreciation and satisfaction. And how about joyfulness and playfulness around celebrating and delighting in the wonderful things that happen, because culturally I think that we're more acclimated to put our attention on what's not working, and we ruminate over that, we just churn over that and revisit that and dissect that, and we don't give the attention to the things that are working. And it doesn't have to be something spectacular that we're celebrating. Like we can just celebrate things like my car was working when I needed to go someplace, or we can celebrate that we see a beautiful flower. We can celebrate the sound of the cicadas and the crickets, if that's what you're into. I am. I love love, love the sounds of the insects in the evenings, where it just feels like nature is vibrating with this wonderful, wonderful sound. So the feeling of celebrating, I think, goes even beyond gratitude in a way, because it's creating it's adding a richer joy into, and playfulness potentially into, this gratitude and appreciation. And one of the things that I've noticed for myself, interestingly, is joy wasn't really something on my radar as a priority or even a preference for the better part of my life. And I I find that now I'm allowing myself greater joyfulness. I feel a lot lighter. Joy is light. Joy is playful and delighting and delighting, like uplifting, enlightening yourself. And so I invite you, like, what kinds of things could you find celebration for? So, like yesterday, I met somebody new, and it seems like we have a lot in common. And I met this person online in a quote unquote coincidence, and I'm very excited to explore possibilities for collaboration. Actually, I met multiple people yesterday that I'm really excited about collaborating with. And so there's a celebration. And I think one of the things that inhibits us from celebrating sometimes is that we're conditioned to wait for the other shoe to drop. I will celebrate when blah, blah, blah. Like, I will celebrate when the money's in the bank, instead of celebrating the opportunity that presents the possibility for that money, for example. Well, by celebrating the opportunity, whether it materializes or not, what you're doing is you're calling forth the 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 possibility of more of that kind of opportunity, because you're welcoming it. Uh, and celebration is another way to be able to welcome in the good things in our lives. And so, how do you celebrate? One way to celebrate is to just dance around like a fool and have fun, or put a soundtrack on it. You can celebrate in your mind, but you can also celebrate by just, thank you, I'm celebrating, I'm so excited. Movement is a great way to be able to propagate that joy through your being and that sense of delight. And the idea is to expand the experience of that joyfulness, of that appreciation, of that playful light gratitude, and to really take ownership of the things that are working in our lives. Because, like I said, so many of us are conditioned to be looking at what isn't working. And what we get to do, and I know I've spoken about this before, but we get to recreate our filters. We get to create a filter that is filtering what works instead of what doesn't work. And it's not that one is any more true than the other, because there are things that don't work and there are things that do work. It's just that by shifting our focus, or by deliberately cultivating our focus, then we get to have an experience of whatever it is we're focusing on. So whether or not more opportunities for celebration arise, the experience is that there's more stuff to celebrate if that's where we're putting our attention, right? So the beauty here is that we really truly do get to cultivate our orientation toward our lives. Like, it's the half full, half empty glass, right? The glass is the same. The glass is the glass, and it has however much liquid in it as it has. And our interpretation of half full or half empty is something that we're projecting on it. So if we're celebrating that it's half full, the experience is that we're delighted. Or maybe it's something that we don't like the taste of, but for some reason we need to drink it, or we get to drink it, then maybe we're celebrating that it's half empty. But whatever it is, we're using our subjective experience to shift our frequency and our awareness and further experience. So I'm reminded, and I probably have said this story before too, and I'm not the world's best storyteller, so forgive me, but there are two rooms, there are two kids, and in one room it's piled high with toys. And the other room has all kinds of horse manure in it. And the kid in one room is with the toys, and he's miserable because the toy that he wanted, he can't find the toy that he wanted in all these toys. And the kid in the room with the horse manure has a shovel, and he's digging and he's singing and he's happy. And somebody comes up to him and says, "Hey, what's going on? You're in this room, it's filled with horse manure. What's going on? You seem so happy." And he's like, "Well, where there's so much horse manure, there's got to be a horse somewhere." And so I love that perspective, and we get to play with it for ourselves. We get to cultivate optimism. And in that may seem like an insane thing to even contemplate right now in this time of our history. And I think that it is a survival tool that cannot be underrated, or cannot be in any way. I'm not sure if it's cannot be overrated. It is a really important survival tool. And it shifts the quality of our experience, which is the bottom line. Because when our experience is more optimistic, when we have a more positive outlook on life, there are more possibilities available to us, and we're inclined to explore more positive possibilities. So it's not that there aren't things in the world that could generate concern and upset. We certainly all have enough of that, right? And there are really positive, hopeful things to be looking at as well. So when I started Sustainability Now, which is a podcast that I have with my co-founder and business partner, Scott Billy, the motivation behind it was that when I thought about what we were doing to the planet, it just completely broke my heart. And yesterday I was talking about contrast. And so the contrast was, I was truly heartbroken. And I can be periodically still. However, I looked at what could shift my experience to being a cup half full. And I started looking around for things that gave me hope, and things that presented possibility. And hello, Ross. Hello from Paso Robles in California. I've never heard of Paso Robles. Welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here, and welcome to everybody else who's here this morning. It's great to spend this time together. I love being with you. And so what we're talking about is really looking at what to celebrate. And so I was talking about when I started Sustainability Now. You can find it, by the way, at sustainabilitynow.global instead of .com, and we have all kinds of interviews. So this is what turned things around for me, is looking for things that were hopeful. So I was feeling brokenhearted about the state of the world, and hopeless and helpless. And so I started looking around for things that were hopeful, things that were positive, things that showed me that maybe we're not straightforward doomed, that maybe there are things, there's some hope of turning this around. And what I found, which was so uplifting and continues to be, is that there are a ton of people that are doing remarkable things to solve the challenges that we face as a global community. And so I started reaching out to those people and interviewing those people, and now we have a whole collection of wonderful interviews, and we also have a community that's growing of people that are really forward thinking, that are looking to create really impactful solutions and implement these impactful solutions around the world. And we're building collaborative community, and it's all really, really exciting. Thank you, Dido. Dido posted the Sustainability Now website. I invite you to check it out. It's getting even more exciting because people are thinking even bigger, and how we can really shift paradigms of thinking and of business and all kinds of other things. So what I'm talking about is finding things to celebrate, even in, I love you, Dido, even in our moments of despair, or particularly maybe in our moments of despair, let's look at what we can celebrate. And we don't even have to limit ourselves to the experiences within our own lives, although that's really helpful too, is to look at, hey, what was great today? Today may have been like the worst day, but what was great? There was probably something, there was probably at least one thing in the day that you could find that was wonderful. And the thing that we typically do, as I've said, is focus on what doesn't work. And I encourage you to be asking yourself routinely, what does work? What is working? What was great? What was fun? So that you can start shifting your focus and creating a new habit of this celebration and of recognition. And so I know for myself and for lots of other people who are doing stuff in the world, what happens is that we're doing, and we get one thing done, we go to the next thing, we get another thing done, we go to the next thing. And typically we feel like, oh, I was supposed to get all this other stuff done and I didn't, instead of saying, wow, I got that done, I got that done, and I got that done. Wow, that's awesome. And by shifting that, we can lift the oppression of overwhelm for all the things that we haven't yet done. And the celebration can actually act as an incentive and a reward that spurs us on to do the other things. So, and even for stuff that we're not that thrilled with, there's something that we can celebrate, because remember, half full, half empty, we get to choose. It's not like one is more true than the other. And lots of people don't celebrate because they're afraid that the other shoe will drop, which is such a crazy thing that we get conditioned to. It's nuts, right? I'm not going to celebrate because I don't want to jinx it. It's like, what is that? What is that? It's like, what's the underlying assumption there? If I don't want to jinx it, that's saying, what's the underlying assumption? That maybe I don't deserve it, or it's going to disappear, because if I predict, if I acknowledge it, I'll somehow undermine it. And that's crazy stuff, right? If we have this whole notion of self-sabotage, that's a place where it begins, right? When we're thinking, uh-oh, I can't celebrate this because who knows, the other shoe will drop. Who knows, I'll jinx it. It's if we step back from that thought thinking pattern and take a look at it, it's like, wow, what's at the root of that? And maybe at the root of that, hello, Shri, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here. What's at the root of the thought, I can't celebrate that because I might jinx it? Maybe there's an underlying belief of, I don't deserve that good thing, or it's an accident that something good is happening for me, or who knows what other kinds of beliefs might be underneath that. But what if you entertained, like, wow, of course things are going to work out for me. And in fact, this is a great mantra to use throughout your day, is everything is always working out for me, even if it doesn't look that way in the moment. And so how does it feel if you sort of touch into yourself and say that to yourself? Say it right now. Everything is always working out for me. And if you feel like you need to add it, you can add, even if it doesn't look that way right now. It's always working out for me. And as you practice that and feel into it, there's an ease about that that'll show up after maybe you get past the resistance. There might be some resistance that you experience around it, because maybe there's part of you that says, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. Life sucks. The life is tough, whatever. When you start practicing this idea, you can shift your experience. And maybe one way, one inroad into shifting your experience along those lines is, if life were always working out for me, what can I see as evidence of that in my life? That's a good question. Why? Because then your consciousness, your awareness starts putting its focus on what's working. So you don't have to make an assertion that your internal being just says, no, that's just not true. What we want to do is calibrate to where we are. And if you're not in a place to believe that things are working out for you, maybe the way to move into it is to just create a positive question, or a generative positive question, which is something like, well, if I'm willing to entertain the idea that maybe life is always working out for me, what would it look like? What kinds of evidence would I find in my life to show me that life is working out for me? And what kinds of instances have occurred in my life that I can look at and check into, like it that in that way? And then your brain sort of starts saying, okay, I've got a job to do. I'm going to go check out what kinds of evidence there might be that life actually is working out for me. And you can see different instances, large or small, like, wow, I really needed to pick me up. And then all of a sudden my attention was drawn by this beautiful, beautiful flower that I hadn't seen before. Something that small can be evidence that life is working out for you. And then you can be building your body of evidence to where it becomes easier and easier to say, you know what, life is working out for me, even if I don't always see it. And finding that place of trust creates a new container, a new context for your experience. If your experience is occurring in the context of life always working out for you, then you can allow it to unfold without resistance. And as we allow life to unfold without resistance, of necessity, our experience of suffering is greatly reduced because we're not resisting what is. We're kind of moving through it. And that resistance is a large part of what creates our experience and our suffering. So, this is going back to the notion of celebrating and celebrating even the littlest things, even the littlest things. So, maybe you have something that's being delivered and celebrating that it got delivered at a time when you could actually receive it, or that it got delivered. How cool is that? I'm celebrating that this thing I ordered, I needed, I wanted, I desired, showed up at my doorstep. How cool is that? I get to celebrate that just arrived into my life. How cool. There are endless opportunities for celebration. Celebration can be something, I mean, it's the same conversation as gratitude. It's just taking gratitude into a playful and joyful place that allows us to literally do a happy dance if that's what feels good. And by feeling good and feeling better and better, then we allow ourselves to feeling better propagates feeling better. So the more we feel better, the better we feel. And that's actually something that works on a generative basis. It's not just a statement of observation, it's a statement of a dynamic that occurs in terms of our experience of being. So anyway, it's the weekend, so we get to celebrate that it's Friday, and we've had another week of our lives, and we're going into the weekend, and we can celebrate that. We can celebrate uh endless, endless, endless things and experiences in our lives, and I invite you to do that. And I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me. It's such a pleasure to be with you and share this time. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. I'm here on Enlightened World Network's Facebook page every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And I invite you to check out the awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, and lots happening over the weekend, always. So go to the Facebook page and check that out. And if you like what we're up to, make sure to follow us and like us, and on social media, and also on the YouTube channel, because that would be a really big help and support. And with that, I just want to say so much love, so much compassion for you. Thank you again for being with me. And I hope to see you again next week.